Welcome to NACTV Reads the News. My name is Gwen Jacobsen, and I'm one of many volunteers that help create programming for our station. NACTV can be seen on MTS Channel 30 or 1030, Westman Cable Channel 17, Bell Satellite Channel 592, or online at nactv.tv. These programs are made possible by our volunteers, staff, advertisers, as well as donations made by you, the viewers. If you are enjoying your NACTV experience, please consider supporting us by either donation or volunteering. You can contact our office at 204-476-2639 or at nactv@wcgwave.ca. This week's edition of the Neepawa Banner and Press is dated Friday, October 27th, 2023. Now on the front page we have a beautiful colorful picture, and it is of Megan Peters and Katie Martin as they pose next to their artwork titled Interlaced at a gala in Toronto. The art will now find a permanent placement inside Scotiabank Arena, home of the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Toronto Raptors. So, this is by Owen Devereaux. A call for creativity from downtown Toronto has been heard and answered by a pair of artists who call Neepawa home. The work of Katie Martin and Megan Peters was recently selected for permanent display at Scotiabank Arena, home of the Toronto Maple Leafs and Raptors. They are amongst a handful of Canadian artists whose creations will be located throughout the arena and feature themes related to the teams, fans, and City of Toronto. The Martin/Peters collaboration is titled Interlaced and is an interpretation of a vintage photo of George Armstrong, Todd Sloan, and Dick Duff. That trio played together for the Maple Leafs in the 1950s and were nicknamed the Bread and Butter Line. The painting will hang on the 200 level of Scotiabank Arena. The style of Martin and Peters' painting is a mixture of Eurocentric and Indigenous symbolism. Katie is a realism painter who works in oils, while Megan's style works in acrylics and brightly colored layered designs. The combination of styles is a commentary on the different cultures moving forward together to create beautiful new stories while honoring the contrasting experiences of their histories. The two concepts meshed, or perhaps we should say interlaced, together nicely to create the final artwork. Individually, each artist has already achieved notable success, as Martin's work is very much been sought after by an array of collectors in Ontario, her original home province. Peters, as well, who is from northern Manitoba, has already had her art on display in Thompson, Leaf Rapids, Dauphin, and Winnipeg. And it goes on to say, while the art of Katie Martin and Megan Peters is known locally, as well as in other portions of Manitoba and Ontario, this is their first showcase in such a busy metropolitan venue. On average, the Scotiabank Arena sees almost 2 million patrons pass through the doors for sporting events and concerts over the course of a calendar year. Peters said that this was an exciting opportunity to have their work showcased in a venue where art and artists tend not to be celebrated traditionally. We are proud to demonstrate for our students that the art world can be one of success and connection rather than struggle and competition, said Peters. An interesting and unexpected side note to this story includes Katie Martin's family connections to the Maple Leafs. Her great-great-grandfather, Emilius Jarvis, was the founding director and co-owner of the Arena Gardens, which was the original home rink of the Toronto Arena / St. Pat's / Maple Leafs from 1917 to 1931. Well, good for them. And I'm assuming that these little marks that they have here, they kind of look like the laces of hockey skates. Maybe that's why they call it interlaced. Well, congratulations to them. Next, we have an article about Neepawa Newcomers, a warm welcome for newcomers. The photo is by Casper Werhan. Volunteers for the Neepawa Newcomers Coat Room, or NNCR, had quite the full and busy weekend when it opened for the first time on September 21st and 22nd. Located at the Prairie Alliance Church next to the Westway Inn Motel in Neepawa, the NNCR gave away a total of 70 coats. This weekend, on October 28th and 29th, the staff will be just as busy as they are anticipating to help approximately 120 more newcomers. The NNCR's setup includes a check-in desk at the front door, a welcome area to settle in, converse, and enjoy snacks. Then, once the individual or family is ready, they are welcome to go with an NNCR volunteer to assist them in finding an appropriate coat, free of charge. Each individual or family also received a welcome package which included items such as winter activity information, hand warmers, and much more. So in this photo, while there was some time between appointments, these volunteers for the Neepawa Newcomers Coat Room gathered for a team photo among a portion of their stock of cozy coats. The NNCR has over 40 volunteers total. And here we have a picture of donations of boots were welcomed with open arms. These boots were set up on display with all clients welcome to try them on and enter their name for a chance to win them. Well, it's always such a blast of cold air for some of our newcomers that have never experienced our Canadian winters. That's great. Next, we have an article about Neepawa cutting down trees infected with Dutch Elm Disease by Owen Devereaux. The discovery of Dutch Elm Disease has the town of Neepawa acting to curb its spread before winter. This fall, the tree-killing fungus has been confirmed in 33 trees across the community. In order to eliminate the disease, Council voted on Tuesday, October 17th, to hire Devon Jarvis to cut down the infected trees. The cost of the removal has been set at $9,400 plus GST. Removal is expected to begin as soon as possible. Each year, in accordance with the Forest Grant Agreement, the province comes into a community and marks any diseased trees that it finds. The community is then tasked with the removal of those trees and is later reimbursed a portion of the cost of that work from the province. The number of trees to be removed in Neepawa this year is just a little bit higher than has been reported in previous years. The reason for the increase is related to the elimination of perceived healthy trees located very close to confirmed infected ones. Dutch elm can be spread through root contact, so these currently healthy trees would likely be an issue next year. As well, their removal will break the line of infection, saving large groups of other nearby trees. And Neepawa invests in water main extension by Owen Devereaux. An expansion of Neepawa's water lines has been given the go-ahead. On Tuesday, October 17th, the Mayor and Town Council approved the start of work on a water main extension just northeast of Neepawa. The parcel of land that is being worked on is close to the new hospital that's currently under construction. Once work has been completed, the extension will be able to service the new regional hospital as well as accommodate potential residential expansion in the area. Swift Underground, a technology and construction services company based out of Steinbach, won the contract with a bid of $1.186 million. Work is expected to begin as soon as possible. Okay. Now, the Roxy Theatre, coming up on October 27th and 28th, is a movie. The showing is a movie called A Haunting in Venice. So I suppose that's in coinciding with Halloween. So about this movie, an old-fashioned haunted house mystery, now exiled Hercule Poirot reluctantly attends a seance. But when one of the guests is murdered, it is up to the former detective to once again uncover the killer. And it's rated PG. Then November the 3rd and 4th at 7:30 p.m., which is also the movie this weekend, 7:30 p.m. It will be Paw Patrol, the Mighty Movie. And then on Sunday, November 5th, it's going to be a matinee show time of 2 o'clock in the afternoon. All right, let's go on here. All right, this week, Out of Helen's Kitchen by Helen Drysdale, it features Manitoba potatoes. 1 potato, 2 potatoes, 3 potatoes, and many more. A big thank you goes out to the potato farmers of Manitoba who shared their abundant potato crop with many local people. The humble potato is one of the best packages of nutrition in the world. 1 potato has more vitamin C than an orange, more potassium than a banana, more fiber than an apple, A and B vitamins, iron, calcium, and more. 1 medium-sized potato, or 1 cup, contains 100 calories as compared to 1 cup of rice with 220 calories and 1 cup of pasta with 215 calories. Contrary to popular belief, the potato is not fattening. However, butter and cream are. Since most of the vitamins and minerals found in potatoes are contained in the skin or just beneath it, it is best if we eat them with the skins on. The Incas in Peru were the first to cultivate potatoes in the high Andes Mountains. The potato made its way to Europe with the Spanish conquistador ships. Sir Walter Raleigh introduced potatoes to the British Isles in the 1580s. Ooh. Some believed the potato was unsafe to eat as it was not mentioned in the Bible. However, despite the controversy, farmers found that potatoes could grow double the food in the same land, and potatoes grew well in poor soils. If they planted some of their land with potatoes, they would have enough to eat and still have land to grow grain crops. As a staple diet, highly nutritious potatoes helped alleviate the effects of such diseases as scurvy, tuberculosis, and dysentery. Ireland became so reliant on the potato that when the crop failed in 1845, there was a famine, and many people starved to death. Antoine Augustin Parmentier, a French pharmacist and agronomist, was the man who made potatoes popular in France. He was captured during the 7 Years' War and found himself imprisoned in Prussia. During his prison stint, he ate a diet largely of potatoes, a diet that kept him in good health. Upon being freed, he returned to France and made the push to eat this nutritious vegetable. Using reverse psychology, He posted guards around his potato fields to prevent people from stealing them. Parmentier instructed the guards to accept bribes and allow people to steal the crop. These fields were left unguarded at night, so people would sneak in to steal potatoes as well. His plan worked well, and soon the potato was a staple of France. The potato became such an essential food source in the European countries that it was deemed a necessity for the colonists to bring with them to the New World. Thus, the potatoes crossed the ocean to be planted back on their American soil once again. The potato is the world's third most important crop for human consumption after rice and wheat, and the first among non-grains. 1 hectare of potato can yield 2 to 4 times the food quantity of grain crops and is more efficient in water consumption than cereal crops. It has provided food security for millions of people in the developing countries. If you wrap your potato in to bake in foil, it steams it rather than bakes it. If you desire a crispy baked potato, lightly oil the outside with vegetable oil to achieve that desired effect. When boiling potatoes, cut them into even-sized pieces and do not boil them too furiously, as they tend to fall apart. So Helen has 2 recipes. One is called a cheesy potato casserole or Parmesan potatoes. I love potatoes. Tenby 4-H is galloping back into action by Avery Smith and Kendra Ott. Another amazing year has started for the Tenby 4-H Equestrian and Stockman's Club. On September 15th, our club officially met for the 2023-24 year at Gates Crossing Farm. We are proud to have 14 members this year. The first meeting included horse safety, tack check, team builders, and groundwork. Our club is off to a great start. In the following meetings, we covered horse anatomy, showmanship, elections, and trail patterns. Elected positions are President Leanne Ott, Vice President Jesse Clark, Secretary Treasurer Charlie Carefoot, Social Media Danica Potker, Reporter/photographer Avery Smith and Kendra Ott, Party planners Julia Ott, Maya Clark, Janelle Gilmore, and Ryder Lee Muir, scrapbooker Kimbry Grock, and team builder Kendra Ott. The new members are Clary Muir, Paul Birch, Kimbry Grock, and Timothy Clark. Club members are excited about their new responsibilities and upcoming activities. When we covered topics from our manuals, we were able to learn to do by doing a 4-H motto. For the anatomy skill builder, we learned where various parts of horse are, such as the cannon bone, hock, barrel, withers, crest, knee, and fetlock. Members had lots of fun using colored chalk to locate the specific parts on an actual horse. Also, horses and riders were challenged to go through tough obstacles to build up their confidence and strength. Tarps and chutes proved more difficult than initially thought, although all our riders found success. The next club meeting is on October the 28th for our Halloween party, parade, and more horse experiences. Next, we have a lovely article about a lovely person. It's entitled Anne is Unforgettable by Owen Devereaux. For many people in Neepawa, the spirit and legacy of Ann Kuharski will echo in their memories every time they step inside the Yellowhead Center. That's because her dedication to that building was well known across the community. Even more well known to those who were closest to Ann was her fervent and unyielding dedication to her family and friends throughout the years. That's why Ann was special. And that's also why the Yellowhead Hall was packed to near capacity recently with those wishing to honor her memory. Kuharski, who was the Yellowhead Center's building manager and director of operations between 1999 and 2017, passed away on October 13th at the age of 64. A special celebration of her life was held on Thursday, October the 19th at the Yellowhead and was attended by several hundred people. For a large number of people in Neepawa, Ann's legacy can be seen inside the Yellowhead Center. Reverend Chad McCharles, who served as officiant for the ceremony, spoke about her commitment to the facility and being there for so many moments in Neepawa's recent history. He said she was a fixture here at the Yellowhead for so long. In this place where our community revolves around good times, sad times, celebrations, wins, and losses. The Yellowhead Center and this community has been marked by Ann and improved by Ann in more ways than we can count. And this is how we go on because, in the words of her family, Ann is unforgettable. The eulogy was provided by Ann's sister Lynn Watson and Katie Hawken, who is Ann's daughter, and provided a perspective of her childhood and teenage years before eventually calling Neepawa home. Watson reminisced about their time growing up surrounded by a large, extended family of Ann's uncles and cousins. She noted that played a huge part in Ann's ongoing commitment to remaining close to the family unit. As well, Watson also stated that Ann was a people person. She always had jobs that involved people, whether it was hairdressing or working at the Yellowhead Center. How many of you out there did she help with weddings? Or try to arrange the kitchen schedule to suit you? In later years, working for White's Funeral Home, she did her best to make things bearable for families. Watson also emphasized Ann's charm, adding she was fun, kind, and loyal. Katie Hawken, Ann's daughter, also spoke and remembered just how much of herself she would give up to family, friends, and her community. Our mom was a mom to many. She was a therapist, a wedding planner, and a late-night driver, said Hawken. She leaves behind a legacy of love, kindness, and dedication. Now, look at this. We have the NAC Tigers. That's the high school hockey team from Neepawa, 2023 to 2024. I'll read out their names because they've got great pictures of them all. Carson Baker, number 19, a forward who's in grade 12. Tyler Cook, number 2, defenseman, also in grade 12. Riley Davey, number 9, a forward in grade 12. Hayden Delaloy, number 11, a forward in grade 12. Callan Dembo, number 20, a forward also in grade 12. Ian Foster, number 8, a forward in grade 10. Cohen Kalbaki, number 14, a forward in grade 11. Kane Lapointe, number 21, a defenseman in grade 10. Tarek Lapointe, number 25, a forward in grade 12. Daniel Lissaway, number 10, a forward in grade 12. Austin Mikulak, number 35, a goaltender in grade 11. Clinton Morisseau, number 23, a forward in grade 12. Lance Murray, number 6, a defenseman in grade 12. Lincoln Murray, number 22, a defenseman in grade 12. Brock Pazlowski, number 7, a forward in grade 10. Zach Plett, number 18, a defenseman in grade 10. Brody Pollock, number 17, a forward in grade 12. Ben Richard, number 5, a forward in grade 10. Harley Smith Belisle, number 33, a goaltender in grade 10. And the bench: Troy Brister, coach; Mike Adams, coach; Chris Sitko, assistant coach; Chris Kulbacki, assistant coach. So it looks like they're having a tournament this weekend, October the 26th to the 28th at the Yellowhead Center. And the Neepawa Tigers will be playing on October 26th at 8:15 p.m. against Crocus Plains Plainsmen. There's also Bellevue Barracudas, Vincent Massey Kings, Boissevain Broncos, Morris Mavericks, Verdon Bears, Swan Valley Tigers. So, good luck to our Neepawa High School hockey team. And here we have an article about them. This is Tiger Hills Hockey. Sorry. That's the Tiger Hills Hockey League by Owen Devereaux. There will be 16 teams on the ice this year across the Tiger Hills Hockey League, including one returning after a brief hiatus. After a one-year leave of absence, the Boissevain Border Kings have been reinstated for the 2023-24 season. Their return, combined with the Cartwright Clippers needing to step away for a year, has forced a restructuring of the divisions. The Border Kings will return to the West Division, while the Killarney Shamrocks have shifted to the East to keep both divisions balanced with 8 clubs apiece. So the Eastern Division consists of these following teams: Carberry Plainsmen, Gladstone Lakers, Killarney Shamrocks, McGregor Wild, Minnedosa Bombers, Neepawa Farmers, Pilot Mound Pilots, and Wawanesa Jets. For the Western Division, these are the following hockey teams: Boissevain Border Kings, Deloraine Royals, Hartley Blues. Hartley? I don't know if that means Hartney. Melita Bisons, Minneota Elkhorn Seahawks, Rivers Jets, Souris Elks, and Verdon Oil Kings. For the local clubs, the regular season will begin this weekend. The Neepawa Farmers will be in Deloraine on Saturday, October the 28th. Their home opener will be on Sunday, November 5th versus the Rivers Jets. The start time at the Yellowhead Center is set for 6:30 p.m. The Gladstone Lakers, meanwhile, will also be on the road opening weekend, playing in Pilot Mound on October 28th. The home opener will be on Saturday, November the 4th against Hartney. As for the Minnedosa Bombers, they open up their brand new arena, the Sunrise Credit Union Arena, on October the 28th versus their new division rival, Killarney. The Sunrise Arena showcased its first action on Saturday, October 21st in an exhibition game between the Bombers and the Neepawa Farmers. The Bombers ended up winning that matchup 6-5 in overtime, so a very close game. Now for the Neepawa Titans Junior A hockey team, there's a regular season home game October the 29th at 7:30 p.m. against the Winnipeg Blues. And speaking of, so there's a sports dinner, a Neepawa sports dinner coming up on November the 10th. And that will be at the Yellowhead Hall, sorry. And there's going to be a speaker called Tornado Hunter Greg Johnson, and there will be a comedian, Jordan Wellwood. It's from 6 p.m. to 1 a.m. Tickets are $100, or a VIP table of 8 is $1,000. So keep that in mind too. Now we have a sad situation here at the Flats. The Flats have closed their change rooms. The change rooms, there's a picture of it here that's down on the Flats. The change rooms / washrooms at the Flats in Neepawa are now closed until further notice. This change took place last week and a poster was put up at the facility. Recent acts of vandalism and nefarious activity were cited as the cause. The town of Neepawa has noted that this is not a permanent change. The facility may still be open for events, but is remaining closed to curb the unwanted activity while the matter undergoes further discussion with the Neepawa Town Council. Now, this one's called Let's Scare Away Hunger by Lena Stadnik of the NACI Hope Group. It is that time of year again for the Neepawa Area Collegiate Hope Group to take part in their annual Scare Away Hunger food drive to support the local Salvation Army food bank. Last month, the Salvation Army distributed 3,427 pounds of food to 53 households in the Neepawa area. This is a 38% increase in total households assisted over last year. To help fill the food bank, on October 26th, the Hope Group will be hanging bags supplied by the Neepawa Rotary Club on all doorknobs in our community. We are asking the community to contribute, if you can, to fill these bags with donated food items such as canned fish and meat, pasta sauce, ramen noodles and Kraft dinner, peanut butter, jam, Nutella, Cheese Whiz, canned veggies, school snacks such as granola bars, fruit cups, or snack crackers, baking supplies, soy sauce, vinegar, oil, canned milk, and toilet paper. On October the 31st, the Hope Group will be coming around in the evening to collect the donations and take them to the Salvation Army to be given to people in need. This year, for every filled bag, Neepawa Gladstone Co-op will be donating an additional $2 to the Salvation Army Food Bank. The Hope Group asks that you leave your bag in a visible, well-lit area by 5:30 p.m. on October the 31st. Monetary donations are also accepted. If your home is missed on pickup night, please take your bag to the Salvation Army or call them at 476-5869 for it to be picked up the next day. The Hope Group and the Neepawa Salvation Army thank you in advance for all your generous donations. Now, speaking of food, fun food and friends at Polonia Fall Supper. There was plenty of good food and conversation shared with friends and family at the Polonia Fall Supper last week. The supper was held at the Polonia Hall with all ages welcome. We have pictured here a portion of the massive crowd that came to attend the supper on October the 15th. Everyone conversed and waited eagerly for their table's turn to dish up. And here cheery welcomes were given and laughs shared as the patrons of the fall supper filled up their plates. And here we have a great picture of Bruce Brothers Bistro, as pictured with its new signage and fresh coats of paint on the doors and windows and facade by Owen Devereaux. We just might run out of storefronts to improve soon, as another notable downtown business in Neepawa is getting partially reimbursed for its upgrades. Bruce Brothers Bistro recently submitted an application to the Storefront Improvement Program, an initiative created back in 2019. The purpose of the program is to assist businesses with the cost of exterior or cosmetic upgrades to their storefronts, up to 50% and a maximum of $3,000. Bruce Brothers, a popular local restaurant located in the historic Oddfellows Hall, recently completed the installation of new signage and the painting of the windows, doors, and facade to their original colors. In its application, Bruce Brothers requested $2,856.68 to help with the cost of the work. The mayor and council reviewed the request on Tuesday, October 17th, and approved the application. Over the last 4 years, around a couple dozen businesses have received varying amounts of support through this project. Further details on the application process are available online at the Town of Neepawa website or at the Economic Development Office. It's beautiful. Now here's a couple more pictures. Spooks, ghouls, and haunts ready for Halloween. These are a couple of the delightful Halloween scenes that appeared in Neepawa recently. These spooks, ghouls, dragons, and more are primed and ready for Halloween, and more are sure to join them by the time Tuesday the 31st comes around. These displays were pictured on Saturday, October the 21st. Oh boy. All right, we'll go back and finish some other articles. Little Mistakes and Big Ones Too by Ken Waddell, right in the center. A disclaimer, the views expressed in this column are the writer's personal views and are not to be taken as being the view of the Banner and Press. Needless to say, I read a lot of newspapers in hard copy and online. I also take in some news on CBC TV, CNN stations, and online. Credibility in news reporting is not increasing, and it's partly due to reporters being in too big a hurry to meet deadlines, and partly because many in the news business are just plain sloppy and maybe lazy. On Sunday, a news guy was reporting about the ongoing strike at MPI, or Autopac. He said almost 2,000 workers are on strike. Then he hesitated and said a number considerably less, close to 1,700. Now, that misinformation doesn't really affect the issues at hand, but it does make the story less credible. I know math is hard, but simple math should be fairly simple to report. We make errors in this paper, but we try to correct them as quickly as possible and offer an apology to go with the correction. We also try to report carefully and proof our work. We still make mistakes. We also try to report carefully. There's possibly some grammar and spelling mistakes in this very column. The world is in turmoil today, but the reporting is far from complete. The war in Gaza is getting a lot of media attention, and so is the Russian war in Ukraine. There are, however, many other battles going on right now, and they go virtually unreported. A quick internet search shows up 12 major conflicts going on right now. Ironically, every war could be stopped, quite frankly, if nations would clearly examine the logic and costs in lives, injuries, damages to infrastructure, and yes, money. I might be proven wrong, but the U.S. Civil War of the 1860s could have been solved more cheaply with paying off the slave owners rather than the money being spent on war. That's just the money, not the deaths and injuries. I also think the Iraq-U.S. war would have been cheaper to solve with money rather than the lives lost. No country should invade another. Simple to say, I realize, but why would a country want to invade when what they need and want could more easily be obtained by economic agreements? Invading nations in modern times haven't fared well, at least in the short term. Germany was nearly destroyed twice in the 1900s as invaded countries fought them to a near-death experience. Japan was a long time recovering from their 1940s aggression. Russia, or at least Putin, wants to restore the USSR to some earlier mythical glory. I say mythical, as a quick study of history will show that once a country gets really big, it also becomes ungovernable. Russia has been an unmanageable disaster more times than not in the past 200 to 300 years. Countries like the US, Canada, and Russia are so big that the elites, remember those elites I wrote about a couple of weeks ago, get the idea that they don't need the people. All they need is power and tokenism. Keeping power becomes more important than serving the needs of the nation and its people. So I started out talking about little mistakes, such as the ones reporters may make, and now I have wandered off into mistakes nations make. They are different, but in many ways, the small mistakes and the big mistakes are similar. They are both situations where the person or nation wander from truth to fiction, intentionally or otherwise. The Bible says in John 8, verses 32, "Then you shall know the truth, and the truth will set you free." In everything we do or say, as a person or as a nation, we must seek the truth. Next, we have Homebodies by Rita Friesen. It's entitled So Sad. No surprise, I'm overly fond of my little dog. Ari was a year old in August, part Yorkie, part poodle, black with tiny white socks. I am not her first caregiver. After being separated from her mother, she had one young woman as a mum, and when that proved difficult, my daughter-in-law thought of me. She called and asked if I was ready for another dog. I reminded her that I wanted an older Sheltie, and then she sent me a picture. So my daughter-in-law took the puppy, trained the puppy, and flew her out to me. Ari was in their home for about 2 months. There was a little dog, Shaker, a papillon, to play with daily, and 2 big galoots to gamble with regularly. Loving home with canine companions, and it was good. Shortly after Ari's arrival, the family stopped by to visit, and it went well. They were all glad to see each other, and Ari was a little sad when they all left, but this house still had extra folks, so it was okay. This week, my daughter-in-law and Shaker came for a day. Ari was overjoyed. With Mum, too, in sight, my presence didn't matter at all. The walk went well, and time in the dog park went well. Ari checking with Mum, too, rather than me for commands and approval. We left the dogs to play together when we went out for a fall supper, and then Mum, too, and Shaker went home. Ari sat at the front door and cried. She could not be comforted. Treats were but a moment's relief. When the reality of the closed door and no signs of their return set in, she allowed me to pick her up and hold her. Head down, eyes averted, limp and dejected, she lay on my lap. Verbal assurances didn't help, and there is a limit that even I respect for giving treats. When she first joined our household, Ari resisted being picked up, often uttering a low grrr when I placed my hand under her body. We had overcome that trait, but in her sorrow she resumed it. She did not want to be picked up. She didn't really want to be held. She was sad, so sad, and please just respect that. Several hours later, I was sitting on the couch and she approached me. Slowly, she came up and sat beside me, almost close. It took another day or two before she stopped listening so intently for the slam of a car door, before she accepted that it was just us once again. I did have a memory flashback. When all the Grands were young, one set moved out of province. Time together was so anticipated, so enjoyed, and when the silence of their departure descended, there was a pall over those left behind. The sunshine dimmed and the cloud gathered. My heart hurt for her. Too many of us know the sorrow of goodbyes. Too many of us know the sorrow of the absence of one we love and adore. So I sat with Ari, understanding her sorrow, sharing her sorrow. Aww. Faithfully Yours by Neil Stroshine, The School of Life. Over the years, I have gained a deep appreciation for one of God's greatest gifts to our world. That gift is the vast collection of knowledge, insight, and wisdom that resides in the minds of those who live in our communities. This body of information has been accumulated over a lifetime of work and experience in what we call the School of Life. This school is unique. It charges no tuition fees. It does not have a set curriculum. Classes are always in session. In the School of Life, we follow a simple technique: observation, interpretation, and application. In the observation phase, we mentally record experiences we go through each day. What happened? To whom did it happen? What effects, good or bad, did it have on us and on those around us? The interpretation phase helps us attach meaning to the experiences. Why did they happen? What did we do that helped make them positive ones? What mistakes turned them into experiences we'd like to forget as quickly as possible? And how did our reactions make them better or worse for those around us? The application phase identifies the lesson or lessons we can learn from the experiences and how to apply those lessons so that we can avoid the mistakes that cause misunderstandings or problems that can take many weeks to resolve. Lessons learned in public school, college, or university are easy to forget, but lessons learned in the School of Life stay with us forever. Some of those lessons are worth sharing. I fondly recall times when my father would take me out on a crop tour of our farm and would point out areas in one of our fields where the crop was thin, the quality was poor, and the yield was less than ideal. Then he would say, "Neil, I want you to remember this spot in this field. Next spring, when you clean out the corrals, I want you to cover this area with a good coating of cattle manure." I did, and the following year we had an excellent crop. In later years, as I moved from one community to another, I met people who, by their words and example, taught me how to be a better person and ultimately how to be a better minister. I will never forget those lessons and the impact they had on my life. But there were some lessons that I had to learn them on my own. When I surrendered to a failed marriage, I sought help from friends who, like me, were divorced. They gave advice based on their experience, offered encouragement, prayer support, and checked in on me regularly to see how I was doing. But they could not ease my pain. I had to learn from that experience and recover from that pain on my own. Now, as I look back over 72 years of life on this planet, I thank God for those who took the time to share insights and lessons they learned in the School of Life. I am glad that I listened and learned from much of what I was told. I regret those times that I did not listen when I should have. But I am thankful for God's forgiveness and the second chances that have come with it. The experiences have made my life rich and rewarding. God's grace, mercy, and strength have kept me alive long enough to enjoy it. Now we have a Gladstone Cattle Market report by Tyler Slowinski. A blanket of snow covers parts of the prairies. While it definitely feels a lot different than when we were making hay, we are still quite fortunate to have dodged an early snowfall. The weaning process is well underway and will continue right up until the new year, and the welcoming cattle market has many cattle being marketed rather than backgrounded. We traded 1,444 cattle through the ring in Gladstone on October the 24th. Satisfying prices are still available, although large numbers of cattle trading across the prairies have applied more pressure to the market. The market is seeing mainly a wide variety of wet-nosed calves, the odd set of yearlings, and still a fair share of cows and bulls. The feeder market was under pressure with the abundance of similar cattle moving in huge numbers across the prairies for another week. Poor weather in the western provinces, harvest still wrapping up in the eastern provinces, and cattle futures taking a bit of a tumble were all bearish factors on the cattle market this week. I expect more pressure on the market as more cattle flow to the markets and the weather starts to transition into winter. Cows and bulls were steady to stronger in spots, even though local rail prices remained steady. Cows traded from 125 to 136, with sales to 142. Bulls steady to slightly stronger to last week, ranging between 160 to 170, with sales to 177.50. The cattle marketing outlook looks both promising and very busy in the weeks to come. All classes of cattle sold well. Plainer type cattle are still being discounted. Some highlights from the sale: red steers weighed 435 and they brought $475 per pound. Crossbred steers weighed 505, they brought 407. Red X steers weighed 619 and they brought 379. Heifer highlights: red heifers weighed 422 and they brought 384.50. Fancy 539 weight buckskin heifers traded at 338.50. A set of crossbred heifers weighed 635 and they brought 317 per pound. Now we have a few thumbs up, thumbs down this week. The first one is a thumbs down. I'm a new resident to Neepawa and attended 2 Titan hockey games recently. Thumbs down to the noise and chaos created by our young population. These are not toddlers. Some would even be in the middle year classes, running, playing tag, keep away, balancing themselves, walking on children's zone stub wall. Really quite comical. The signs are all over the rink about children having adult supervision. Might as well take those signs down. After that chaotic experience, I decided to vent. By Donna Hume from Neepawa. I've heard a few other comments along those lines lately too. Parents have to look after their kids. A thumbs up to the Neepawa Legion Ladies Auxiliary for serving such a tasty, tender roast beef supper on Friday night, with the proceeds being donated to the Lions Club towards the restoration of the Stony Creek School at Riverbend by Lyle and Judy Watson of Neepawa. Thumbs up to everyone who bought 50-50 tickets as fundraiser for the Neepawa Handy Van. The winner was Mick Kalbaki, who received a check for $2,232.50. Thank you for all your support from the Handy Van Board of Neepawa. And lastly, a thumbs down to Jack Frost on Tuesday, October the 10th, as we were busy and forgot to cover the flowers, pumpkins, cucumbers, and peppers. Plants can survive 1 to 3 degrees below Celsius frost if it is only for a short period, but -4 is what gardeners call a killing frost. By Robert Smith of Edrins. Now, lastly, we have looking back. This is where we look back to 125 years of articles in the Neepawa Banner and Press. So 125 years ago, October the 26th, 1898, references have frequently been made to the moon being full on the night after the Prohibition plebiscite, and of its keeping pretty dark for a long time afterward, but people are generally disposed to overlook these lapses. Few, however, will excuse money. It has been tight for a long time now and shows no signs of relaxing. 100 years ago, October 30th, 1923, a 40-mile road is to be built by the Manitoba government to facilitate marketing by settlers west of Lake Manitoba, which territory Mayans Senate prevented being served by the CNR. Central heating plants are now regarded as necessities. One could heat the business section of Neepawa at approximately half what it now costs to do it separately. The post office at Tatanka has been closed, and there are others that should be closed. Maintaining a post office to accommodate half a dozen families within 10 miles of another post office is an unjustifiable expense. Miss Maybelle Monington, who has been stenographer in the Neepawa Land Titles Office for 17 years, has been transferred to the Attorney General's Department in Winnipeg and assumes her new duties on Thursday, November the 1st. 75 years ago, Thursday, October the 28th, 1948, Brookdale. Mr. J. Ramsey is attending the Pool Elevator Convention in Winnipeg as a delegate. The Neepawa Hotel has undergone an extensive remodeling and redecorating program during the last month. 50 years ago, October 25th, 1973, Brian Cramond of McLeod's Store was chosen as the Clerk of the Year by the Neepawa Rotary Club and honored at the Rotary Club luncheon last Friday. David Kalinowski of Neepawa, a graduate of North Dakota with a master's degree in civil engineering who works for Texaco Offshore Canada, is spending 2 years with the offshore drilling and production operations in New Orleans. His intention is of coming back to Canada to start a department here. David was born near Burnie and has been raised and educated in Neepawa. And the last one, 20 years ago, Monday, October 27th, 2003. Neepawa's Spring Hill Farms hog processing plant has 6 years to pay back a $3 million loan from the province. Manitoba Public Insurance has recognized Neepawa's Speed Watch Group for putting in the most hours while checking speeds on the highest number of vehicles during the past year. Canada has one of the lowest ratios of doctors to population in the Western world, according to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. So the last thing I'm going to show you is this advertisement that was in the Neepawa Press, the 1898 edition of the Neepawa Press. It says, "This is a correct reproduction of the Grand Jewel cook stove. We also sell the Jubilee heater, which gives the greatest amount of heat from the least quantity of fuel of any stove made, and the odorless crematory closet, which should be in every well-regulated residence. These are specialties the public are asked to inspect. In all lines of hardware, we keep the best. McDougall and Company." I'm sure all of us has seen one of these somewhere. That is hilarious. Anyways, that is it for this week's edition of the Neepawa Banner and Press. So thank you very much for joining me today, and hopefully we'll see you another day. So bye for now.